where almost everything that's a masculine trait has been redefined as toxic. You know, even down to when men now hold a door open for women. A lot of women almost spit in their faces. How dare you do that? You know, how dare you be chivalrous? The old sort of hunter-provider idea of a male role model, absolutely condemned out of hand. You know, strong men are now traduced as somehow a problem. Weak men or very emotional men or very vulnerable men, they're all heroic and so on.
Well, they are, but are they getting laid? You know, and that's I suppose the nuance that Piers isn't going to go into here because it's kind of off topic and it's not his thing anyway. But I mean, yes, men who are emotional, men who are in touch with their vulnerable side, men who are in touch with their feelings and all of that jazz. He says they're being viewed as heroic. Well, possibly, but are women really wanting to get down and dirty with them? And the answer is probably no, okay, for the most part. So, I mean, it was interesting because on that Fresh and Fit podcast we did the other day, one of the women was arguing, well, what's going to happen in society is you're going to get women who are taking on more of a dominant masculine role because they're earning more money and they're in a more powerful position in society. And so men are going to become more feminized, and that's just going to be how it goes, okay? And so then, more feminized men are going to get together with more masculine women. Personally, I can't see that happening because I don't think that you can, take apart the wiring of hundreds of thousands of years of human development overnight. I just can't see that being the case. I think most women still like a guy who is more dominant, all right, in whatever way that is, whether that, in the various ways that the various definitions of that term, okay? So I think that what we're going to see actually is an increasing rich versus poor gap in terms of the dating marketplace, because as more and more guys become softer and they become more vulnerable, more emotional, less in touch with the kind of masculinity that these dudes are talking about here, simply they're going to get friend zoned more, right? So women are going to, they might like them and think that they're laudable and like them as friends, but they're not going to be attracted to them, okay? And the few guys at the top who sort of hang on to that more masculine streak, that more dominant streak, those are the guys who are going to be rewarded, okay? And society is pushing this because the message in society is, no, you can't be this toxic man, you can't be this bad, guy like one of these internet people. You've got to be like super in touch with your feelings. You've got to be like super woke and all the rest of it. And okay, that's fine and that's all very well. But again, how's that going to fare for you in the dating marketplace? And the truth is that women aren't viscerally aroused by guys who exhibit those qualities, or at least not for the most part.
And it's this constant narrative along those lines, which I think really unsettles and confuses young men. They're like, well, what am I supposed to be? Because most women they probably meet don't agree with the caricature of the men they're supposed to be told they should be liking.
Can I give you a list of headlines I found that have...
Exactly. I think what he was saying then is what I was trying to articulate. Let's just listen to that again.
And so on. And it's this constant narrative along those lines, which I think really unsettles and confuses young men. They're like, well, what am I supposed to be? Because most women they probably meet don't agree with the caricature of the men they're supposed to be told they should be liking.
So, yeah, I think what he's saying there is what I was trying to say before, which is that actually most women aren't actually attracted to these kinds of more emotional men that society is now telling them that they should be attracted to. And so that's creating a problem in the dating market.
Can I give you a list of headlines I found that have different things that are supposedly toxic masculinity?
Yeah.
Mass shootings, a toxic masculinity, gang violence, climate change, the financial
climate change
crisis, Brexit is toxic masculinity, the election of Donald Trump, not wearing a mask, eating meat, physical fitness, fast food, capitalism.
Physical fitness
is toxic masculinity, and communism is toxic masculinity. Hip hop, smelling of Axe body spray, being stoic, risk taking, religion, but also secularism and atheism, playing board games, being interested.
Playing board games. How is playing board games toxic masculinity? Jesus Christ.
In cars and saying hello or have a nice day. all terrible examples of toxic masculinity there.
And you know, the reality is, like, when you saw what Gillette did with so Gillette always had these big masculine commercials all about being a big, hunter provider kind of man. But then this huge U-turn after the Me Too campaign, and suddenly it was prove you're not Harvey Weinstein or you can't have a Gillette product. And they absolutely tanked their sales in the same way that Budweiser did when they used Dylan Mulvaney, who suddenly decided in the mid-20s that this biological woman, man would be identifying as a woman and make tens of millions of dollars by almost mocking biological females. And you see it time and again where they so grotesquely misjudge their audience.
And look at now, they've just brought Shane Gillis on board, a comedian who was so spicy that SNL had to get rid of him. And in the same week, SNL bring him back as well. I think we might have passed peak woke.
Okay, so that's interesting, and I think he might be right. I just want to address, so Marriage Causes Divorce, who says, women do want a man with a masculine and dominant presence, but they also want the same guy to be emotionally vulnerable and emotionally intimate. And I think that that's true. Now, that may then sound like, oh, God, well, that's so complicated. What do I do? It can't be this, it can't be that, blah, blah, blah. I think, and we try to teach this in The Edge and in, other videos that I've made and so on. You need to find that balance. You need to strike the balance. It's not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily intuitive. Well, it kind of is easy, really. You've got to be just a decent guy, but you've got boundaries. You've got that hard edge. Okay, there's some steel in your eyes. There's some passion in your eyes. Okay, she knows you're a serious guy, not to be fucked with, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're an automaton who's just emotionless and overly domineering and all the rest of it. Okay, it is doable. It sounds like a tall order, and yes, it's unfortunate for guys because women have these sort of somewhat contradictory demands. But I don't think it's as difficult as people think it is. I think it's just something that you need to understand intellectually and then start practicing in your relationships. Have we passed peak wokeness? I think possibly, because I think, well, from what I've seen anyway, is that you'll kind of get people who get cancelled and then they just pop up again somewhere else and they are able to, continue to create content and have a voice. I mean, Piers himself got kind of thrown off of, was it Good Morning Britain, after making comments about Meghan Markle? I think that was what happened. He wasn't exactly cancelled, but he was taken off a big mainstream TV show. Now he's back. He's got the YouTube thing. He's obviously doing really well. So if you look at the Tates, they went to Rumble. They're obviously doing well over there. You've got Fresh and Fit, who got demonetized, and now they're doing a bit of YouTube, and they're also doing Rumble, and they're doing well. I think it's becoming harder to fully cancel somebody now, because, and I think that will increase as we go on, particularly with something like X. You've got Twitter, you've got X, right, which is becoming this sort of bastion of free speech, and Elon appears to be fairly sort of laissez-faire about the people who are on there. So I think as we go forward, cancellation in its old form is going to be harder. Okay, I think people are going to pop up elsewhere, and moreover, there's going to be more of an appetite for views that are somewhat countercultural. Okay, because let's face it, if you're starved of dialogue and information and conversation that goes against the sort of the mainstream narrative, then people are going to have a hunger for that, right? And they're going to search it out. And I think that savvy platforms who recognize this are going to do very well out of it.
Yeah, I feel like we have.
I feel that.
I think
actually.
that. Yeah, I think that's the undercurrent.
The silent majority, which is a massive number of people, the silent.
Mart says 2K subs. Nice. Yes, thank you very much. We have made it to 2,000, which is, in the big scheme of things, compared to these guys, is absolutely chicken feed. But, listen, the channel's only been up for a couple of months. I've been putting out regular content. So to get to 2K is gratifying, and thanks everybody for the support. We are monetized, and we are going to be changing things up a bit from March. I'm going to be doing more sort of static 2-camera type videos where we're going to be delving deep into individual topics and giving you some real actionable advice about what's going out there in terms of dating and the best ways forward. Okay, so look out for that. We're still going to be doing some lives. I think we may be changing up the times a little bit, but just keep an eye out. all will be revealed very soon.
Majority just has got sick of it. They've got sick of everything they enjoy in life being redefined as somehow evil and corrupting and worthy of cancellation. They find the idea of the cancel culture completely ridiculous, but they also specifically like everything in their daily life that they enjoy, from comedy shows to movies to music to statues to heroes, whatever it is. The woke brigade's only response to all of it is it's all evil, it must all be cancelled, and we must go to a form of extreme puritanism where if you even crack a joke at work, you must be expunged from human life.
Indeed, indeed.